and thank you for joining us here at the ThunderCast. I am your host, Lyle Convoy, and I am joined by Pella Creepy, aka Mark Pellegrini.
Hey, what's up? It's always good to be here.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on the chat here, but I'm also going to go ahead and start spreading the link out
Start spreading the news.
because I was too caught up on Twitter threads to remember to advertise my own freaking podcast properly.
Well, I mean, it's funny. It's almost like whenever ThunderCats is trending on social media, it's almost always bad news these days.
Well, I mean,
Why can't it ever be good news?
because humanity is a dumb. Let's see here. Wait.
I mean, we're you don't want to talk about ThunderCats Roar tonight, I'm assuming, right? We're trying to keep a positive feed going here.
I'm less concerned about positivity, and I'm more concerned about quality control. I've already stated on the Facebook page that we will not be discussing it, so we will not be discussing it. I want to talk to my viewers, the few that I have, the few that I'm still very grateful for, about the original show and perhaps some tangential stuff about the 2011 show and everything therein. We're not going to be talking about Roar. We're not going to be covering Roar.
That's a good thing because that just invites drama. So why even bother?
Well, I'm
and
not.
from what I've heard, the show's dead on arrival anyway. So what's the point?
Well, I'm not. I'm not opposed to drama as a whole. I like a good fight, but at the same time, like I'm not gonna waste my time, and that's all it would be in this case, my opinion.
Absolutely.
All right, so let me go ahead.
So we're gonna talk about good Thundercast tonight, though.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna talk about the best Thundercats. We're talking about the '80s Thundercats. All right, let's see what we got here. Wayward Draws These. Good to see you here, man. Cade Sutherland, Vinkman. Always good to see you two here. Haven't seen you in a while, Cade. I'm glad you're still drawing. Glad you're still around. All right, so we're gonna run through here, and we're going to start with the episode The Astral Prison. Now, the rundown on this episode is Lion-O has a dream about Jaga, of all people, being trapped in an astral prison. And he decides he has to go save him, so he winds up consulting a character called the Nether Witch to try to get him into the astral plane. And shenanigans happen from there, but I'm going to go ahead and let Mark lead with his thoughts before we get into some show clips here. I'm just going to bring up a little image. Go ahead, Mark.
So this episode is one that I remember very, very fondly from when it aired on Toonami in like 97, 98. But that's later in the episode. I'll get to that. But the episode starts like in almost in medias res. It's just ready to go. It's like, here's the gun, and they're off. And Lion-O immediately has that dream, that vision about Jaga, and then it's just a race to get to the adventure. This episode spares no time. And one of the things I really like about the episode, and it's a Mum-Ra thing, is that when the Thundercats have their council meeting and they talk about, well, how do we get to the astral prison? How do we get to the astral zone? Wily Kid just happens to know of a character called the Nether Witch, the first time anyone's ever heard of her. And Mum-Ra is, watching from through his cauldron, and he's just like, yeah, that's me. And you find out that Mum-Ra has all these guises, and you see them throughout the series. He's always changing form, but it's more than just him putting on a mask just for like one episode where he's pretending to be a burble or he's pretending to be a Wolo. It's that he plays these different characters with identities and histories throughout Third Earth. Like he's been the Nether Witch on Third Earth long enough at least to build a reputation where other characters know who the Nether Witch is, what the Nether Witch can do, where to find the Nether Witch. It's very like biblically satanic in a way. Like Mum-Ra's the devil, and that's something the devil does throughout the Bible. Sometimes the devil's the serpent in the garden who tempts people with knowledge. Sometimes he's that dude in the desert who tries to tempt Jesus to abuse his power. Sometimes he's the straight up big demon monster who goes up to God and like gives him a wager to ruin Job's life. Like he's always got these different identities, and he's these different characters throughout the story. And that's who Mum-Ra is. And I like that about Mum-Ra, is that he is the devil of this show. The mutants are the foot soldiers and the nuisance and the evil army, but the Mum-Ra is something much bigger and much worse. And he can operate on these different levels throughout the story, where sometimes he's the big demon priest, and sometimes he's just a dude pretending to be a really hot chick in a cave. And
Hey,
yeah,
go ahead.
okay. And yeah, so that whole thing about him is like, oh, and it's so subtle. They don't really dwell on it. It's just something you pick up when you're watching, like, oh, this is just one of those things about Third Earth mythology and Third Earth history and the landscape and the setting is that you can go to see a character who's got this huge backstory, who's been, a staple of Third Earth for hundreds of years. Like, oh, damn it was Mumra all along, because he's just that guy who's just networking throughout that landscape for so long that he can be any character at any time, regardless of how well vetted they are. And I love that thing about him.
So
the rest of the episode's really good too.
So are you telling me that Mumra is to Third Earth what Roger is to American Dad?
Yes.
We're gonna go consult a buddy of mine. I really hope it's not just me in another outfit.
Yes, that's perfect. Like, so we're gonna go in there, and there's a pretty good chance that that's gonna be me behind the desk. Now, I just want to brace you for that. And he's like, oh, okay. They open the door, and there's like, hello, what can I do for you? Roger's immediately gone. I love it.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna do something new here. I'm actually gonna play some clips from the episodes. Let me go ahead and grab the right clip if I can find out where I stuck the thing on this. All right, we're going to go ahead and play this clip.
Ancient spirits of the void, transport Lion-O to your astral world.
Mumra! You will never return to the cat's lair, Lion-O. You are trapped in the astral world forever!
And what I really like about this is it's a nice transition from not just Lynn Lipton doing this voice all the way to Earl Hammond, just a complete well done transition. And it shows Mumra's a prick. Like, he's not just sitting lying away. He's like, I'm going to show him it's me. I'm going to get out of my cosplay and I'm going to show him.
That's the thing, is that he's got this. That's the other thing, is that he's cultivated this Nether Witch character on Third Earth for probably centuries. And he's willing to throw all that away just so he can say, ha, it was me, Mumra, all along. I got you. And now he can never be the Nether Witch again, because that ship has sailed. That's been blown. But he's got such an ego that he's like, you know what? I spent 300 years cultivating this identity, but it's going to feel so good to show him.
You thought it was the Nether Witch, but it was me, Mumra! Now, one thing that does happen in the episode is one of the very few times you can catch one, but there actually is an animation error in this episode.
I did notice it, because it's Lion-O's ThunderCat symbol belt buckle. The colors are reversed when he's laying on his side, right?
Okay, there's two then. There's that, and let me see if I can find the second.
Okay.
There's this.
So it was after those. Oh.
It'll be on screen on your
end of my computer.
There he goes.
Let's take a look there. What's the error?
Look at his hand.
Oh, what? Is his hand on?
It's on backwards.
Back? Yeah, okay. Jeez. So it's funny when stuff like that happens. You almost don't notice it.
Exactly.
Like there's there's this like screen cap from Scooby Doo of Daphne, and everyone always posts it because like it's her in a bikini. But every time it gets posted, I always like post a comment next to it like, she's got two left hands. And everyone's like, oh.
So yeah, that's one of the few times you'll see animation errors of that degree in ThunderCats, which is ironic considering the thread I just had on Twitter, but it still is pretty consistent. Now, there are a couple more scenes we're going to talk about here before I give my thoughts and of course the overview here. I'm sure Mark here is going to appreciate a couple of them, so let me go ahead and take that out.
Man, but so it's funny. There's at least those two little animation errors. His hand being the wrong hand being on there, which is something that I never even noticed, and a little coloring error. But the animation overall in this episode is really, really good.
Yeah, it is.
This is a gorgeous episode.
And I'm about to show that. So let me go ahead and make sure this audio isn't too high because I was worried about it on the last clip. Let me go ahead and adjust that beforehand. All right, I'm going to show you one of the cool parts of this episode.
Thunder! 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 ThunderCats!
And hopefully the stream won't get temporarily blocked.
So can we talk while you're playing the clips, or do they hear us?
They'll hear us.
Oh, okay.
I just think it's a really well done scene. Shot a really
The
neat.
whole thing is gorgeous. And I love that. You can see the cat's head in the electricity right before it hits the cannon.
Oh, that happens quite a bit. It's actually really neat.
ThunderCats!
Wino loses his power up, but he doesn't need it. He's gonna
Exactly.
pick him up anyway.
All right, so
Oh,
moving
man.
on here.
Well, the other thing I wanted to point out is this episode. It's funny. It's not a comedy relief episode like Dr. Dome Tome. It just has these touches to it that are hilarious. Like the part where they go to the Bridge of Slime, which is what leads to the Nether Witch's lair. And Cheetara's like, is there anything we can do? And Lionel's like, you can wish me luck. And they do their hands together, Thundercat's hoe. And he turns away to look at the cave. And then he hears
Already
tires
leaving.
screeching behind him. And he turns around. And
Later!
like, we're out of here so long. You're on your own, kid. Bye. I had to pause the episode. Because it's not, the scene itself isn't played for laughs. It's not like it even knows that
It's the
funny. It
juxtaposition
just
that's
is.
interesting.
Yeah.
But speaking
And that's
of... Sorry, go ahead.
But that's the over thing about Thundercats is that it often isn't trying to be funny. It knows it's funny and it has enough confidence in its humor that it doesn't have to point out when it's making a joke. And that's one of the things I love about it.
Well, speaking of funny, I got one more clip from the Astral Prison here. And hopefully, again, it won't take my stream down in the middle of it. But I'm going to go ahead and risk it. Gonna play it.
It's this part where he's jogging. That part just has me in stitches every time. I love that scene.
It's great.
So and it's so all the little details. I was screen capping it when I first pointed out on Twitter, and then you came in with the clip. You're like, Mark, here's the clip. I'm like, mana from heaven. But there's so many little jokes in there. Like when Vulture Man, like first when he leaps away and he does this really elaborate backflip, like he's proud of himself, but then when he tries to stick the landing, he accidentally does the splits, and for like one frame he's like grabbing his crotch and screaming like, oh god. And then when he's lunging at Lionel, the look on his face is like he's not confident in what he's doing. He's like, I'm not gonna win this. He's going, but he's doing it anyway. And then the rest of the scene plays out, and it's just so funny. There's so much character and so much like little detail in that, and it's hilarious. It's the small things that sell it.
What's really funny is, as you actually noted, and I've noted it a while beforehand, they do that a lot, specifically with Vultureman. The animation studio, for some reason, were really fond of giving him some wild expressions. Maybe to challenge themselves because he has a beak. I don't know.
I'm not sure why it was specifically Vultureman. Maybe that. So all the other mutants, they have, very wrinkly, detailed faces. And Vultureman, his countenance, because he's a bird, is a bit smoother. So maybe that instead of having to keep all, like with Jackalman and Sly the monkey, and they have to keep so many lines together from frame to frame with Vultureman, there were less lines, so they might have had more time and energy to put into exaggerating his expressions, because he just gets the biggest smiles. He gets the biggest eyes that are the most emotive, and he's just so funny to watch.
Oh, it's
Plus,
great.
his voice is hilarious. Is that Earl Hammond as Vultureman? Which one is it? But whoever's doing his voice is hilarious.
I think it's Snarf's voice actor.
Oh, okay, yeah. But speaking of voice actors, that is Earl Hyman, Panthera's voice as Nemix, the gatekeeper, the prison keeper of the Astral Prison, right? And
Yes.
he sounds like he is trying not to laugh throughout the whole episode when he's doing those voices, like, I've got you, Jagger.
I've got you, Jagger. it's almost like a less sinister version of Frank Welker's take on the boogeyman in one way or another.
It is, yeah, without that demonic like reverb and raspiness. But it sounds like, because all of Earl Hyman's characters just sound like Panthro doing a voice. So it just sounds like Panthro trying to be scary. Like, I'm gonna get you, Jack.
And you know, the funny thing is, they actually talk about that in Hear the Roar. The reason why they had such a small voice cast because all the money went into scripting and the animation. That they couldn't hire a massive amount of voice actors, so they just got good ones with, you know, an actual range.
But yeah, I mean, Laura Lipton, is that Chitara's voice actress? Would I get that
Lynn
right?
Lipton.
Lynn Lipton, like she should have gotten, you know, a daytime Emmy or something, because she voices every single female character for the first season until like Pumaira shows up. And while sometimes you can tell when she has no choice but to recycle a voice, I mean, the fact that she can do so many characters. And you point out, like, yeah, that great change in her voice when it's switching from Mum-Ra or to the Nether Witch, to Mum-Ra, that transition where she starts out raspy and then she kind of like tones it down into the more sensual voice that she uses. Like, that was some really, really good voice acting right there.
It was. And the funny thing is, I had people talk previously about how, well, the voice actors are bad. I'm like, dude, Earl Hyman is a classically trained theater actor who did Othello and did it in Poland and with multiple languages. Do not come at me with this they don't know how to act nonsense. I will slap you.
So here's my whenever I hear that a lot as well, and I can see the angle they're coming from when they say the voice acting was bad, but it's pretty easy to dismantle. Because you ask them, like, okay, well, which character sounded bad? And like, oh, well, the Thundercats all sounded really wooden, you know, and they're always so serious all the time. Like, okay, what about the other characters, like the mutants and Mum-Ra and the Berserkers and all the other characters? Like, oh, well, they sounded fine. Well, they were by the same voice actors. All the people who voiced the Thundercats voiced all the other characters in the show. The Thundercats specifically, yes, they do sound wooden and serious because they're the protagonists, and they have to take everything that's happening very seriously. But the guy who voices Tigra also voices Monkeyan, and Larry Kinney voices Jackalman, right? And Jackalman is a crazy, insane voice. It's wonderful. You know, it couldn't be more different from Lion-O. Like, you can't say that these guys can't act. It's just that with the Thundercats, they're specifically, you know, trying to take everything very seriously, but they have fun with every other character, and it shows.
Also, real quick to answer your question, Red Vitamin Blue, it's really odd because Jaga's body, like his entire being, disappeared on the episode of Exodus. So I'm just guessing when a Thundercat dies, his entire being just physically is transported into the astral plane. That's the only actual explanation I have here, right? So when Lion-O got moved into the astral plane, it was everything of him got moved into it. So when he came back. And I just think that's funny that he just shows back up. And we find out it's actually a consistent thing for Mum-Ra that if there is a character on Third Earth he doesn't like, well, I'll banish them. Because he does it all the freaking time.
Yeah. So there's a character we haven't mentioned yet, that old man with the crutch who was also in the astral prison, who is a magician that Mum-Ra was like, oh, he's threatening my power. Off to the astral prison with you.
This guy's slightly...
He did that to Withra and...
Yeah. He actually did it to quite a few people. And, of course... If somebody were smart, they could build that as retribution for all of his friends being captured and transported to different things, like, say, Mongor and whatnot. But my thoughts is...
Everybody else got sealed away, yeah. What's her name from the Doomgaze episode? He didn't lock her away in another dimension, but she was another one who got banished.
Yeah, that was Tashi, and she had it coming. That's all I'm going to say. Now, I really enjoyed the Astral Prison because, number one, it has a really heartwarming end of it where he's like, well, you rescued us from Thundera, so I guess we're even. And, you know, I like solemn, quiet times like that, too, which Thundercats had a really good grasp on doing. But it was a good episode, had a lot of action. It has Lion-O. Still the problem of jumping into danger without second-guessing it, but he's doing it for a good reason. He's doing it because my mentor, a man who raised me like my father would, he's in danger. Holy crap, you can get in danger when you're dead. What the heck? And I gotta go save him.
It's funny you mentioned that though, because Jaga actually compliments that behavior from Lionel in this episode. Lionel is like he's almost like he's gonna get the right message, and Jaga gives him the wrong message because Lionel's like, oh man, it was really tough to jump into a problem that I had no idea what it was or where I was going or what I was doing. Maybe I shouldn't do that in the future. And Jaga's like, whoa, let's not go crazy here. That was actually really brave of you to do that. You should do more of that, especially when I'm in trouble.
I think it's more of the fact that usually Lionel he jumps in head first due to his own pride, but in this case it was due to somebody in danger, and you see that being a more valid character flaw in the future, where he just jumps into danger because somebody's going to get hurt, which is a valuable thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read the show notes about this episode, The Astral Prison. And this is by Peter Lawrence. Given the fleeting nature of his appearances throughout the series, Jaga-led episodes are always welcome. To see him in his true form, rather than a common ghostly apparition, is simply a bonus. The Astral Prison showcases the imagination of writer Peter Lawrence and his ethos that ThunderCat scripts must have a strong idea behind them, admitting that dialogue and direction could always be improved, but only with an exciting concept in place. His idea certainly hits the mark here, and the opportunity to have Lionel and Jaga fighting side by side is too good to miss. It is fitting that Lionel should be able to repay his debt to Jaga, and the fact that it is Jaga who is in need of help really makes this episode resonate. That Lionel would gladly surrender his own existence to free his mentor speaks volumes of his personality, and these emotional signatures, at which Lawrence excels, are threaded throughout the episode. The story is quite surreal, and the disembodied hands and eyes in the Netherwitch cave are genuinely strange. It's a pity that more screen time isn't given over exploring the astral realm, although, as in the case of Return to Thundera, we must remember the series is anchored primarily in the events of Third Earth. In contrast to the surreal aspects, there is also a healthy dose of humor throughout the episode, including an amusing, if fleeting, scene where Jackalman allows a wheel to roll over Monkey's foot.
That was good.
Towards the end of the episode, Pacific Animation Corporation once again rise to the occasion and provide an exciting showcase of the ThunderCats themselves, beginning with Lionel repelling Vulture-Man. Look out for the X-ray effect of the sword's power. That was a good touch. There are some great character drawings and angles in the climax. For the more attentive viewer, there is also a cell mispaint to watch out for during Lionel's fall. His insignia colors are inverted. Good catch. The scene where Lionel disappears slowly from Third Earth as he sees Mumra's transformation is cleverly executed, and his subsequent rematerialization at the end of the episode, where the cat's eye appears from an apparent nothingness, is equally exciting. Additionally, look out for the one and only appearance by the Astral Moat Monster, who would later become a toy in the LJN ThunderCats line.
Yeah, you're right. Random toy selection.
And he's like $600 now. What the heck? The Astral Prison isn't perfect, and the Bridge of Slime is nearly identical to the Bridge of Light in Lawrence's earlier episode, The Time Capsule, but is a definite highlight from this era. Once again, Lawrence's superlative dialogue is effortless, not least in Jaga's exchange with Lionel. So now we're even. Lord of the ThunderCats. Now here's Lawrence's commentary on his own episode. This was the only second animated script I had written from start to finish, and I had never worked on a big series before. I had a lot to learn, and the script demonstrates a couple of both good and bad lessons. One that I went directly to the writer's safe room, inventing my own characters and situations rather than doing the harder work of staying within the show. When in doubt, throw in Nimix. Oh, Nimix isn't enough? Well, how about Brodo? And there's not enough to work with on Third Earth, let's invent the Astral World. All examples of Hitchcock's theory of MacGuffins. A very different style from the linear dictates of the hero's quest. So this makes for a huge amount of extra production and delays the further development, in depth of the show's main characters and world. Its upside is that it does give a show a greater variety, and the audience is never sure what weird, wild, or woolly MacGuffin may turn up next. I always liked the Jaga figure and the in-shadow relationship with Lionel. Personally, too, I'm fascinated by parallel dimensions, astral planes, and so on. I've never been fortunate enough to experience any kind of supernatural phenomenon. Trust me, you don't want to. But that would give my eye... I would give my... What? I would give my eye teeth for that. I don't know what that means.
Eye teeth? Okay.
And incidentally, that was one of the bases of the real adventures of Johnny Quest long before the X-Files owned that territory. Writing this kind of other world for a young audience is liberating. It has been clearly expressed and understandable, which makes the writer think more deeply and clearly too.
He wrote for Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, huh? Wow, that's a really good forgotten show though, but it was really, really dark for its time.
Oh my God, yes.
Not for now.
But it was good. It was good.
It was great. And I say for its time, it would be dark. If you were to air that now, that show would be intense. It was, I can't believe we even got it.
All right, so we're going to go ahead now and move into the Crystal Queen, and we're going to give Marmaduke so much grief. So much grief. All right.
Marmaduke.
Marmaduke! All right, let's see if let me go ahead and find the image here. Aha! There we go. All right, moving on. What are your thoughts on the Crystal Queen? And if you want to, go ahead and do the synopsis here.
All right, so in this episode, Snarf has Alzheimer's, and they got to put him down. It's really sad.
Oh, come on now.
But yeah, the plot of this episode is that Snarf is getting old and he's forgetting things, and the ThunderCats are being real nice to him about it, but they're also trying to relinquish some of his duties to get his responsibilities, and Snarf's not having that. At the same time, there's this magical, beautiful bird called the Arietta bird that's the queen of what's it again?
The queen of
what's her name?
God, I think she was just called the Crystal Queen, if I recall correctly.
The Crystal Queen from Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, basically shows up and tries to kidnap the Arietta bird because she's a greedy, evil, like fairy tale witch kind of character, fairy tale queen. And so Lion-O was like, all right, well, I'll go get the bird back, I guess. And so the episode's just his quest to go get the bird back, while Snarf kind of like tags along and then helps save the day at the end. And then everybody realizes that Snarf is still useful. Hooray. And geez, that's kind of it. Not as good as the Astral Prison. Not a bad episode. It's a good Snarf spotlight, actually. And I like the angle they go at it with Snarf. You know, there's a lot of episodes, especially the 80s cartoons, where they have to try and make a case for the comedy relief character to, like justify their existence, their dynamic in the show. Snarf was never really like that. I think he's often misremembered as being like the Slimer or the Orko or the, kind of character, but he's actually really useful in almost every episode that he's in. So I don't think he really needed a justification episode, but they gave him one anyway. He can apparently chew through solid stone. That's new. I don't think he ever does that in any other episode. It makes a wood sound effect when he chews through the stone floor, though. So I'm not quite sure what we're supposed to be getting out of that.
Snarf does the angle as he pleases.
Snarf can do whatever Snarf wants. But yeah, the angle they go at it with, though, isn't like, oh, Snarf's small and weak, or like, oh, Snarf's not a real ThunderCat. He doesn't have a belt with an insignia on it. They go at just that he's old. And he's kind of like his memory is kind of going, and he's not as useful, or they don't think he's as useful. Like he overseasons the soup that they're having, which is actually kind of a funny scene and stuff like that. Or he like puts he puts like an energy canister in the broom closet by accident. These things like that. And like, all right, well, that's an interesting way to approach it. They're approaching it as that, like, are old people still useful? Should we put them in homes? Let's find out.
Yeah, so thank you, Scary Harvey. Her name is Tartara. You're right.
Queen Tartara?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot it. I don't think she ever shows up again, does she?
Oh no, she's dead. And we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute here.
Yeah, the bird does not take prisoners at the end. All those. So there's one scene though that I thought was really funny. Again, it was like I don't think they meant it to be funny. So all of her guards are like snow people of like Snowman's Hook Mountain, kind of like monkey people, right?
Yeah.
They're the same race. Yeah. So all of her guards are these people, and Lion-O's on the side of an icy mountain fighting one of them, and one of them falls over the edge of the cliff, and so Lion-O tries to save him by grabbing the collar of his coat, and then the guy slips out of his coat and falls down the cliff into like the big snowbank at the bottom. And Lion-O is just sitting there holding the coat and the hat, and he's looking at this shirtless guy down there freezing in the snow, and he says something like, Jaga says there's always benefit to be found in misfortune, but I don't know what benefit that poor devil could be receiving from this, but at least I won't freeze. And then he puts on the coat and walks away. I'm like, dude, you could have thrown the coat back down and given it back to the guy, but you left him down there to freeze.
Well, in fairness, he didn't want to die either, and that guy, like, he tried to help him. Yeah. That guy made his choice. Speaking of funny things,
yeah, right.
I would like to note two things. First of all, I need to bring this up as a detail. But I love the detail on Lion-O's boot prints. I put it up on the stream. It's adorable, and I love it.
Why is this? So are they just? I don't know how that works. Are there no bottoms to their boots?
No, there are. They're all molded with cat toe beans on them, apparently.
Oh, adorable.
Now,
for a second, I thought like the print in the snow was gonna say like LJN backwards on it.
oh my God, no. Now, I would like to say that, number one, I also really enjoyed the fact that Snarf was feeling his age and that nobody was giving him grief for it. They were all genuinely just concerned about him and very kind about it. That was very nice. Usually you just see in cartoons back then or now, it's like, you're just an old man. You're old man. It's just like that Snarf. You're getting old and that's fine. Just take care of yourself. And I like the fact
they're
that
all choking.
Go ahead.
When they're all choking on his soup. They're like, this is really good, Snarf. Thank you.
We're your family and we support you. And then it's like, I'm going to go find Lion-O. It's not like, not without me, you ain't. That's my kid. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put on screen. Let me see if I can. I got to, of course, make sure all the audio is balanced here. Let me go find it. I'm going to go ahead and make sure all of this is taken care of instead of doing it as clips go, because I've been getting used to OBS. I'm not quite as proficient as I would like to be. So go ahead and do this. One of the funniest parts, I'm going to go ahead and throw it up right now.
Hungara, 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 hungara.
God, they're stupid. He's like,
Uh-oh. I'm gonna.
The only thing dumber than a mutant, I guess, is those guys.
Now,
brute men, maybe.
This also showcased like how they like to push action, because usually in a lot of older 80s cartoons, because of FCC regulations at the time, certain amounts of violence couldn't be shown. But one thing I really liked about ThunderCats and their choreography is, unlike, say, Star Wars episodes 2 and 3, where none of the lightsabers had any bite to their attacks, where you could just stand there without blocking it and the blade go right by you. Every time they swing a weapon in ThunderCats, it's because they're actually trying to hit you. It's a really good sign of choreography. So I'm going to go ahead and show a little bit of that on the screen right now. Really good example of how they manage their action in the show.
Yeah, no, that clip right there, again, like, but I thought the animation in ThunderCats was bad. You know, like, that looks really good. And it's not just the action in it, it's the little details, like when Lion-O blocks a strike, his shoulders blades will go back with the force. Like, there's so much weight to it. And even in like the Astral prison, when the Thundranium cannon was firing off its Thundranium shells, the barrels of the cannon would recoil and then reset, because they're taking, the impact from the blast. Like, just little details like that make everything look like it has weight and gravity. And that's the sign of good animation. That's like, one of the 9 laws of animation or the 12 laws of animation.
Something like that.
No, it all looked really good. Yeah, I'm not an animator. That's why we need Marmaduke in here. Marmaduke.
Yeah, but there's one thing I really like, though, is usually at the end of an episode, the villain gets his comeuppance via the Sword of Omens or via some other thing. In this one, what brought the Crystal Queen's comeuppance was not the Arietta bird, it wasn't Lion-O, it was Panthro not wanting to deal with anybody's nonsense. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on screen right now, because it's great.
Oh, does he have his body transformed?
Yes! His body, this is like a, what is it? Kill, task.
They'll be back with
Kill him in
reinforcements.
jar.
Like, yeah.
No point in taking the long
Didn't
way.
pay attention to watch this part. That's the first thought of the film just collapsing everybody. But no, it was straight up Panthro. Oh my god.
Like, if I can, I just go through. I am Panthro. I do what I want. And that's one reason why Panthro is one of the best, if not the best, Thundercat outside of everybody else. It's just great. I love Panthro.
He's like a big friendly giant. I mean, you don't want to mess with him, but otherwise, he's so nice. Like at the beginning of the episode, when they think the Thunder Tank has broken down, and Lion-O's like, "Has it broken down?" And Panther's like, "No. When I build them, they don't dare break down."
You wouldn't dare break down on me.
But Oh man, yeah. Thanks for pointing that out though, because that's the second villain that I think Panthro has straight up killed in this show. He killed Hammerhand with the tank, and now he killed the Queen. Jeez.
And
He doesn't screw around.
here's the really fun thing: is actually nod back to Panthro's obsession with his tank later on. They're going through the Valley of Spikes or something, and a spike comes up and actually catches the Thunder tank, I think, right in its top jaw. And it doesn't break it, it just pins it to where it can't move. Miley Kid's like, I thought you said this thing won't dare break on you. Panther just shrugs and says, nobody's perfect. And yes, Harry Harper, we actually covered the episode he came back in. But no, I really enjoyed this episode as well, because number one, I love Snarf. Like, unironically, not, haha, I like him because nobody else likes him, it's a meme. No, I genuinely like Snarf because now that I'm older, I understand his purpose. Snarf isn't there for kids to like. Snarf's there for your parents to identify with.
No, it's funny.
Lionel's doing something dumb. I better go fix that.
It's that character who has to run along behind the kids, cleaning up after them. That's Snarf's purpose. When you're 13, when I was watching it on Toonami in 1998, I thought he was annoying. But you're right. When I watch it now, I appreciate everything he's got to do. Because, what I like about Snarf is that he doesn't have super strength or super speed. He doesn't have weapons. He doesn't have anything, but he goes into every single fight anyway, and he still helps and he's still useful. In a way, he's almost like the most powerful Thundercat. He doesn't need powers. He doesn't need weapons. He's Snarf, and he can do whatever he wants.
Because Snarf's hands are rated E for everyone. You have to understand that. But no, he does have two powers. He can talk to other animals, which makes sense because he has one. Yeah. And we find out later on in the episode, the Mad Bubbler, the Snarf species is incapable of evil.
That's right. I haven't gotten to that one in my
of
rewatch
all
yet,
the weirdest abilities. It's like we can't. We can be pricks. We can't do evil.
I almost feel like that's a cheat. I feel like, who wrote that in the rule book? Oh, the Snarfs wrote that. Oh, Snarfs are also incapable of evil, and they're all very handsome.
Well, if that were the case, Snarf wouldn't be alone. No! But no, I actually think it was William Overgard who wrote that specific episode. But no, I like the moral message. I like the fact that Lionel's still trying to stand up for other people, including just animals. Like no, you don't get to imprison animals around me either. My hands are also rated E for everyone because Snarf raised me. So, the fact that they're gentle with Snarf, they appreciate him, they value him. They don't. They pick on him sometimes in a friendly manner, like a family would, but they don't tease him, they don't insult him, they don't mock him. But
they'll sometimes have a laugh at him, and they do that with each other as well.
Oh,
so,
yes,
they do. That
do.
With Wily Kit and Wily Kid all the time. They kind of laugh at him. So yeah, they are a family. No one's immune to a little cajoling.
Let's see here. All right, so the Crystal Queen was written by Leonard Starr. So it says here, in a series awash with contributions from Bill Overgard, the Crystal Queen may seem to be a relatively normal episode. However, considering this is a contribution from Leonard Starr, who nearly always wrote more conservatively, it is perhaps more significant. As mentioned previously, many of Starr's episodes have a remit of advanced key elements within the Thundercat series as a whole. This time, we see him unleashed from these responsibilities and given free reign over an episode. The result isn't perfect, but it's amongst the more quirky examples of his work. The central theme that Lionel will strive tirelessly to protect each and every one of the inhabitants of Third Earth, however small, is an admirable one. And the episode has enough fun and adventure to sustain its running time. It's interesting that Starr recalls the adventure was originally conceived to run 2 parts, as it's hard to imagine there would have been enough potential to expand such a relatively basic premise. Highlights include the story twist that rather than Lionel freeing the Arietta bird as intended, it's the bird that frees Lionel. The sub-theme that Snarf is getting old also helps to move the story along, and we can't help but feel sorry for Lionel's faithful companion. The Snarf's integrity is restored at the end of the episode, being pleasing, and it makes for some humorous lines throughout the show, including Snarf's evident disdain when eating the food he has prepared. Starr also plays around with the format of the show and delivers a humiliating blow to Lionel, having the young leader encased in glass mid-call to his friends. It is often simple moments like this that keep the audience on their toes, reminding them that stories won't always turn out as they may predict. The Crystal Queen is a simple yet quaint story that broadens the scope of the series. While the Thundercats would be more commonly be engaged in battles to the death, sometimes a noble pursuit of decency would be more than enough to rouse them. It is also a story of loyalty. Through thick and thin, Snarf will never abandon his young charge, even if his own capabilities are in doubt. In the words of Snarf, see, old Snarf just gets better with age. Right?
Oh, I gotta take another drink. They got a drinking game going in the chat right now.
Correct. Writer's commentary from Leonard Starr. The story just kept going and going. It was about an ice queen that had a quasi-Russian theme. Lots of snow and ice, and it was actually a two-parter to start with. But Jules Bass cut the heck out of it and made it into a one-parter. You'll find a conflict quite often. It was really stupid of Jules considering how frantic we were for scripts, and that also cut out a fee for me for a whole script. I believe I gave the queen a Russian name. The only thing I can remember about it is that someone sits down on an icy hump, which shakes free, and it was Snarf underneath the ice. It was full of that kind of thing. All right, so we both really enjoyed this episode, but we're going to go ahead now and move into the comic we're going to cover. So let me go ahead and pull that up. Thankfully, we're done with the clip, so hopefully YouTube won't throw a complete and utter fit. All right, so this is an interesting crossover that Warner Brothers decided to do out of God knows where. It was ThunderCats and Superman. You would think, with these two crossing over, as similar as they have in premise and as similar as they are in values, that this would be an easy book to write for. But no, it is not. The story is that some random woman shows up in Mumra's cauldron and tells him that in another dimension, there's an Eye of Thundera that you could possibly grab. I will open a portal to get you there. And the dimension, of course, is Earth in Superman's timeline and universe. So the Thundercats wind up tangling with Superman, and Superman winds up tangling with Mumra. And yeah, Mark, what are your thoughts on this story?
Hey, guys.
It's Mark.
Finally!
I'm sorry. Oh, boy. And I have no excuse. I just got home from work and I was just like tapping around saying, oh boy, now I can relax. I'll have a live stream. What time is it? Oh, crap.
That's because I already took the traffic excuse, so you couldn't come up with that one. Like, oh, I need something different. Screw it. I just fell asleep on the couch.
All right, so real quick. 30 seconds for each one. What are your thoughts on the two episodes we were covering, Marmaduke?
I absolutely loved the Astral Prison. I think it's one of the most solid animation-wise overall. There's some really moody moments in it, and some really I love like the camera angles moving around. And Mark was already tweeting about all the great anime, comedic reactions from Vulture Man. Crap, what is the second one? I watched it and I took notes, but the second one was just kind of like adequate. Oh yeah, the one with Snarf getting old, kind of a simple, character building one. I think that's the one that had the line where Lion-O said, I've got to go cross this on my own, and then they just like drove off. No, that was in the Astral Prison. They just drove off and left him behind instantly. Yeah. So I cracked up at that. So couple unintentionally hilarious moments, but definitely the Astral Prison's my favorite episode so far.
All right, so
yeah, I also dug Snarf chewing through wood that was clearly stone in.
I don't know how strong Snarf's teeth are. I mean, is he chewing through wood or is he chewing through stone? I mean, it's a big difference there. But he's Snarf. He can turn stone into wood if he bites on it.
Well, I guess it could be like the Crystal Queen just has like veneer that looks like stone. Maybe they make that on Third Earth.
Or maybe
I think it's funny
hardcore.
I think it's funny that all three of us recognize that episode as the one where Snarf gets old, not the one where there's a magic bird kidnapped by a queen and Lion-O has to invade the fortress. Like, no, it's like this is the one where Snarf got old.
Because we're boomers, we resonate with the character building B plot. I also like the Crystal Queen, White Queen dimension, like down to her having like a sleigh with dwarven sleigh riders.
Yeah, and I also played some clips on the stream, and one of my favorites was, remember. It's great.
Yeah, that's right. And you just picked that up, right? Like,
yeah.
Because you sort of subtly heard that, so it wasn't like, I know, I'll just repeat what they say. You just went and did it, and they fell for it.
God. I didn't bring it up. It was one cool little detail they had there. It's kind of just, again, like world, just world building stuff that nobody used again was that the guards that are stationed outside her treasure room all have to wear these like blindfolds because she's so greedy that no one can behold her treasure but herself. So all of her swordsmen monkeys have to wear these blindfolds. But they looked like what the Televipers from G.I. Joe wore. So I was expecting those red letters to go flashing across their visors like emergency or like Thundercats are loose.
If I had to deal with the Joes, now I have to deal with cats! Cobra!
I mean, Cobra Commander's a mutant. He's probably bros with Slide.
But hey, he was once a man.
Yeah.
A man! Anyways,
why do they even call them? I'm sorry, why do they even call them mutants? I mean, are they mutants?
Never touched on.
I mean, never touched on. All right.
Never touched on.
It's just a thing.
But we're going to go ahead and now move into the comic. We had just started Marmaduke, so since you're just here, you get to tell us your thoughts on the comic.
Perfect. So the whole time we were trying to read The Return, I was like hoping it would be good, and I was like saying, well, maybe this could be good, and then it gradually wore down on me until I finally realized how awful it was. This was kind of a similar experience where the art is absolutely gorgeous. So I kind of give it if you just erase all of the dialogue, it can actually be a pretty good comic. They should make write your own dialogue kids comics where instead of coloring the pages, you just write anything. Because I swear, it hurt my soul. It hurts my soul. It's the same problem. Like the writers obviously are trying to get gags out of making fun of how stupid this show is or how stupid the characters are. I don't even watch He-Man, and I felt the disrespect for He-Man throughout that. And the Thundercats, I had the comment, I didn't think he was as bad to the Thundercats as
Wait, hold on, Mark.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Thundercats Superman crossover. Did you read the Thundercats He-Man?
I read the Thundercats He-Man.
Oh my God, Marm! Marm! You read the wrong homework! Ah!
I read the Thundercats Battle of the Planets crossover. Oh, no! Oh,
okay.
We're on the wrong page here.
Okay, so we clearly can't do Marm's side right now. Doggone it, Marm!
That's why Marmaduke was late, because he was trying to finish reading the wrong comic.
Okay, so since Marm can't comment on this comic we're actually covering, next month's comic is going to be that one.
Cool beans.
Poor Marmaduke.
Work on a Saturday and then this happened.
I'm not gonna lie. I was reading your Twitter today. I'm like, why is he reading this comic? I guess he just got interested in it.
Yeah. Well, okay, you should be proud of me, because for a second I thought I should watch Thundercats Roar so I can annoy Lyle, and I said, no, Lyle isn't watching it. He has the self-respect, and Mark is watching Thundercats Roar so he can tease you about it.
I got that out of my system.
If I had just watched Thundercat Roar, I could have gone for the trifecta of annoying Lyle on the screen.
I will find you and I will break you. Anywho, Mark, what are your thoughts on the Superman Thundercats crossover?
I mean, I read it when it first came out, and it kind of just congealed into that miasma of Wildstorm crossovers for Thundercats, where so I didn't reread it again tonight. I thought I remembered it well enough, and then I'm realizing that all my memories of it are from the Thundercats Battle of the Planets one, because that's the one where they go to Earth, and Panther dresses like a pimp for some reason. That's the one that I'm remembering, and that apparently wasn't this comic. So
You're both getting Fs. You're both getting Fs.
We're all getting Fs. Didn't do the homework. Oh.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and lead on this. Here's the issues that I have with the comic is, number one, it's really contrived in its premise, and this should be an easy comic to do. But they messed up so much of the characterization on everybody that it was just a jumbled mess. You have the Thundercats just literally rampaging in the middle of Metropolis, doing collateral damage without a second thought to the people around them. You have Superman showing up, realizing the Thundercats aren't speaking the same language as him, and instead of trying to de-escalate, he escalates the situation even more.
Yeah.
There's a lot of continuity issues as well, because here's the thing. The reason why Mumra doesn't have an interest in the Sword of Omens after the middle of the first season is because he can't use it. an identical Eye of Thundera in another universe is going to be identical to the one in his universe, meaning he can't use it.
So what? Yeah, that's a good point. And I've been watching season 1, and I'm almost done with it. I'm almost at the trials arc, and yeah, there's a point where he's like, "Well, I can't use it anymore." So his goal instead becomes to just get rid of the sword, like throw it in the black hole or whatever, just remove it from Lion-O so he can weaken the ThunderCats. So going to another dimension and getting a second Eye of Thundera, or at least making the heroes aware of its existence, that would just double his problems.
Exactly. Now, here's what it comes down to: is the status quo is always returned. The Thundercats go back home. The mutants go back home. Let me go ahead and pull up some images here. Where'd it go? You defy me. Sorry, I'm trying to find the.
I'm browsing through the art and I'm freaked out at the way Snarf is drawn.
Yeah, they treat Snarf like he's a wise old man that's trying to de-escalate the situation, but he's really creepy looking. But I'm trying to find the right image.
If Snarf can talk to animals, wouldn't he be able to talk to all the Earthlings?
We don't question these things. No,
I
instead
know, I'm just saying that you can speak a universal language. That's something Snarfs can do.
Yeah, I guess I just have to pull in another image, so just give me a minute here. The thing is, like, instead they just invent a new part of the treasure of Thundera out of nowhere for no reason, because we need something.
This is a one-shot. They had to expedite the plot in certain ways, but it can be done so much better. I mean, geez, so all those Superman crossovers with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in the 80s, those are all really good, and they're often revered as being really good crossovers. If you can cross Superman over with He-Man, you can cross him over with Thundercats and make it work. And oh God, he's got a mustache.
Well, here's the thing. Also, the Sword of Omens hits Superman in this.
It hits Superman?
Twice. Cuts him twice.
But it's not supposed to hit good guys.
Thank you. You found out something these people didn't have the decency to figure out. They also have the claw shield on the wrong hip for some asinine reason. They didn't do any of their research on either character, because Superman is like kind of a prick in all this too. And here's the thing: the mutants they have some talisman given to them by the evil woman that makes them invisible. Now, I could be crazy here, but last time I checked, Superman had abilities beyond super sight. If he's hearing these things move and he can't see them, hearing them breathe, hearing their very distinct different heartbeats, that's going to get his attention, but it never is brought up in this story. Like, it's really convoluted, really made to create tension and problems that just shouldn't even exist. And the way you get past the whole bringing in a magical new version or new thing from the Treasure of Thundera, why don't you just let the Thunderian language be the same as the Kryptonian language in Superman's universe?
If they have their own Eye of Thundera, and anyway, I mean, that's like the last thing anybody thinks about when they're reading comics or watching cartoons is, why is everybody speaking English? It's almost, you don't have to address it. We've all accepted it a long time ago. Whenever Goku goes to another planet and meets Frieza or the Nameks or whatever, they're all speaking English and no one cares. It's just the way it is.
It's just, well, I mean, again, you could have had that be, wait a minute, why do you speak Kryptonian? That would have been a perfect opportunity for exposition. A perfect opportunity for them to understand each other instead of hero fighting hero because, reasons. And on top of that, so not by this point, Superman knows that is the Eye of Thundera. He knows that it's a magic object and that it's apparently used for good. Why in the world would Superman just stick it in the Fortress of Solitude and never do anything with it?
To be fair, that's what he did with the Bottle City of Kandor.
Well, yes, but at the same time,
that's what he does with everything.
Yes, it is, but at the same time, like, there's never in the DC universe been a magical artifact that powerful that he just keeps around the Fortress of Solitude for two reasons. Number one, Superman doesn't trust magic. And number two, something that absurdly powerful, I'm pretty sure we get Dr. Fate's attention way before Superman. So it was just a badly written story, badly characterized. The art's not the best thing in the world, as you can see. They didn't know what they were doing. This should have been a shoo-in. This should have been an easy slam dunk. But it's not. It's absolute garbage. Complete and utter garbage. That's a good
point. Whenever Superman does get, like, a mystical artifact, he doesn't put it in the... I've never noticed that until now. Whenever he gets something like that, he gives it to Dr. Fate. He doesn't put it... He puts, like, personal mementos in the Fortress of Solitude, like the Bottle City of Kandor, or all those, like, weird animals from the Collector ship, things like that. He doesn't put something that would attract every horrible monster to his front door in his yeah.
And on top of that, you see him finally throwing down with Mumra, and for some reason, instead of the sword of Plundar, he has some random two-handed cutlass. And he's trying to beat Superman with this magical cutlass, a dude who can push planets. You know, I know Mumra is not fully familiar with Superman, but he's not that dumb. Like, hit him with magic or something. Do distance attacks. He does it with Lionel. Why would he do it with this guy that he knows is absurdly powerful because this evil woman told him something about him?
The art looks nice at least.
It's
It's kind of Michael Turner-ish, I guess.
It has its moments. But it's just irritating. And at the end of it, you find out the evil woman is actually Mitchell Spidlick. He did it just to have some
that
fun.
That could have been clever.
It could have been. It really would have been. And funny thing is, when this happened initially, in the ThunderCast community was talking about it, somebody called him a weird Captain Bragg knockoff. And me being the only guy who reads comics, like, actually, Mitchell Spidlick, he's kind of been around for much longer, and he's absurdly powerful. So I could see him just trying to dick with Superman using another world's demon priest. But we didn't get to see that, did we? No, we just got to see a really badly written comic that neither of you read before the freaking stream.
Well, you know, you're not enticing me to check it out now. I'm sorry. You lost a sale today.
Good. Anywho, so now that that's done, now that the comic is out of the way, we're going to go ahead and do a character retrospective. So let me throw them up on here. Where did I put them? Whammons? Ah, there they are. Whammons! Let's talk about the Warrior Maidens. Alright, since you were able to duck the last time, Marm, let's hear your take on the Warrior Maidens.
I like how they are brought in as secondary characters in several episodes, like the one where their village was being burned down by the mutants. So far, we've just seen the main two of them, and I've liked how they have like a nice political situation where they're not entirely sure they trust the ThunderCats, and then the ThunderCats are building their trust, but then something will happen, like Mumra will create a fake Panthro or something, and that's continually testing their trust. So they have a lot of flavor to them, and I think that they add a nice dimension to the world itself.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so they're just they're a part of the third world landscape. They're just one more faction. They're more interesting, I guess, than like the Wolos, but not as interesting as the Robert Burbles. It's just kind of cool to see regular humans on Third Earth. You know, not weird sheep people, not weird robot Ewoks, just people. I wonder who they procreate with. If there don't appear to be a whole lot of human males on Third Earth, so. That's probably why they all kind of like live in a matriarchal society. But I do like what I remember.
They kidnap people voluntarily.
I suppose, right? I love what Lynn Lipton does with Willow's voice. Willow's voice, the leader of the. It's a Mia Farrow impression, so it sounds like the last unicorn. It's like, I am Willow, the leader of the Warrior Maidens.
Yeah,
it's so funny. That was terrible, but it's just funny to listen to because Lipton, she has to come up with unique voices, but she also has to voice every single female character in the show. Right. So she like okay, here's female character number 75, give us unique voice, and she's like, we'll just make this one Mia Farrow. and so the character sounds like Mia Farrow for some reason. They would do that on the Ninja Turtles cartoon because the cartoon, was pumping out episodes so fast, and they also had a really small voice cast to save on money, and so many episodes would just have a one-off mad scientist in it. So they just got to the point, like by season 4, where anytime an episode had a random mad scientist in it, they would give him a celebrity voice, even if it didn't match him. So like one episode, he's they're Howard Cosell for no reason. Another time the mad scientist is standing there. A celebrity impression just to make this character sound. And that's kind of all I have to say about the Warrior Maidens. I like that Monkian was kind of their arch nemesis for like 2 episodes, where he was the one who seemed to have the most interaction with them. Funny. That's all I got.
Well, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about my opinion on the Warrior Maidens here. I like the idea of them, and one thing I really value is their, despite going into the whole joking manner, that they are actually strong, independent women, and when they need help, they'll ask for it, but very rarely do they, and they're willing to throw down with everybody, and they don't care, and I do enjoy that. And let's see here. So I had to apologize to the chat. I actually threw in something I'm going to use for the outro, and it actually started playing in the middle of Mark talking, so I do apologize for that.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
didn't have anything important to say anyway. I was doing my Mia Farrow impression. You don't need to hear that.
I think Willa and Nate are interesting characters, and the idea of how they procreate, it's not really too concerning to me. I do like the fact that they'll interact with the Thundercats, but at the same time, the Thundercats will never force anything on them, despite being, well, a more advanced race in terms of what they are able to put out there in terms of technology and what they dealt with. They just coexist, and that's fine too. I'll go ahead and read the show notes about this. The Warrior Maidens of Third Earth are a race of female warriors who reside in the Treetop Kingdom. They first appear in the Season 1 episode, Trouble with Time, and are initially cautious of Lion and his team. However, in time, the Warrior Maidens became one of the Thundercats' greatest allies. The Maidens are led by Queen Willa, who is usually in the company of her younger sister Nada. The Warrior Maidens were first referenced in Leonard Starr's Writer's Bible, which revealed an undeveloped bond between Lion-O and Willa. They live in the treetops of their forest kingdom and are wary of any threat to their dominion in the area. But Willa is perplexed and inexplicably strong feelings for Lion-O, which she tries to suppress. Not always successfully. Ooh, getting saucy. Lion-O is impressed only by her prowess with bow, arrow, spear, and knife. He is not aware of her as a girl. Although the Thundercats of the group are occasionally to help Willa and her tribe, in personal encounters it is usually Willa who helps Lion-O out of scrapes, rather than the other way around, because of her familiarity with her native terrain. In situations of extreme danger, however, it is Lion-O's brawn that is the deciding factor.
Huh. I like the balance of that. There's some consideration to not make them useless characters while also not having them show up with Thundercats. There's a lot of balance to how these characters are considered. I've noticed.
I like them in the Thunder Cutter episode, which we hopefully we're gonna get to that one next time or time after next, because that's one I'm anxious for.
Well, now we're gonna skip it because you're
Largo
anxious. You're gonna skip it now because you're anxious for it. How dare you, you monster!
But we're gonna go straight to the touch of a mortis. Okay.
Oh God. Well, we would, but Mom hasn't gotten to the second season yet. But no, that's gonna be not the next Thundercast, but the one after it.
All right. Oh, we'll just have to press the fast forward button.
No, you. Anyways, speaking of which, let's go ahead and segue out of this. Let's go ahead and start talking about what we're going to cover next time. So we clearly have the comic already covered. We're going to talk about the He-Man Thundercats crossover. I haven't done my sixth book review of it, so I'll have to put that out before we get to the podcast because
I'm making you work. I love it.
I'm actually waiting on a sword to get sharpened so I can finish that. But anyways,
is the sword going to be involved in the comic book review?
Maybe. Moving on. So we have the comic covered. So next month we're covering a villain. So who do you guys want us to cover? I'm going to leave that open to the chat.
Saying. No.
Well, while they figure that out, let's go ahead and also talk about the fact that we are covering, as far as episodes go, we're talking about Safari Joe, a personal favorite, and Snarf takes up the challenge, also a personal favorite. These are
Safari Joe. I don't want to miss that one then, because I love that villain. He's one of those random villains to get a toy, but I love him in that episode. Like, Safari Joe does it again.
So much confidence.
It's like, if you ever wanted to see Teddy Roosevelt try to kill the Thundercats, that's the episode for you.
Well, I don't know, man. I think Teddy'd probably succeed.
Probably. No, Teddy had honor. He would let them go.
Well, not just that. Teddy took a bullet to the chest and kept talking.
Bully.
Bully! Bull Moose Party.
So we can say that again. We got to bring that phrase back.
Honestly, I think the only mutant we've done so far is Jackalman. We've kind of been jumping around to whomever and whatever.
Oh, yeah, we could do one of the mutants. Man, we were talking about Vulture Man today. I'd love to do a deep dive on Vulture Man.
Yeah.
Sure, let's talk about Vulture Man, a character that at least one of the script writers thought was gay.
Well, now I can't unsee it. But
I mean, I can totally see it, and I'm not going to say otherwise.
I'm still mad at Jackalman for not realizing that Vulture Man should have been on his team when he was doing his whole rebellion thing.
No, because Jackalman has to rely on people that are dumber than him.
Yeah. And
first,
he steals the Vulture Man's flying machine in that episode, and Vulture Man is just really pissed about that. Like, dude, your flying machine kind of sucks compared to the Sky Cutters and everything else. Like, yeah, but I built it myself.
We were talking earlier about funny facial expressions. There's one specific scene in, I believe, ThunderCats Part 5, where the mutants are trying to attack Hook Mountain, and they get repelled. And Slythe and Jackalman, or Slythe starts rolling down, and of course it becomes a snowball, and it bounces, and Jackalman's trying to catch it, so he's running back and forth trying to catch the thing. He just lands on him and keeps rolling. And then it cuts the Monkey in. He's just standing there with his shoulders down, just staring at this thing. He's like, you know what? I'm not even going to fight it. I'm just going to accept my fate. And it rolls him right over. It's like, stuff like that I love. Granted, I don't really like how they wrote a lot of the characters out in the second season, which is, again, another argument for this clearly wasn't a Toyline Obsessed show, because if they did, they wouldn't have written all those characters out. They wouldn't have taken so many off the chessboard. They were more concerned with story than they were toys. So, okay. Chat, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you guys be the final decision here. If you want us to cover Monkeyin, Type 1. If you want us to cover Vulture Man, Type 2. And yes, people who are my co-hosts are welcome to vote as well. You guys have 1 minute.
Me some Vulture Man.
And I swear, Marm, if you type 3, I'm going to come strangle you.
Marmaduke has type 3 diabetes. That's got to be, I don't know what that is.
Oh, no.
So Vulture Man does kind of have like battered wife syndrome, I guess, because he's the only really competent member of the team, but they all, treat him like crap. There's that episode where he gets fed up in the first 5 minutes. He's like, so you don't like my inventions? Well, let's see how you do without them. And then he blows up all his inventions and storms out. And they're like, no, wait, come back to us, Vulture Man. We can't live without you. We need you.
Like I said,
we can change, baby.
He's the sassy gay friend. He's the competent one. All right, so I think it's pretty obvious we have more 2s than 1s in this case. But I'm going to give it another 10 seconds.
Monkey's a good character. We can do him another time. Vulture Man's just so funny. Especially after watching Astral Prison, I just want to talk about Vulture Man.
Also, we got 16 viewers. I'm very happy to see that. I'm glad you guys all joined us, and we thank you for your support. I'm going to go ahead now and thank all my patrons on Patreon. They know who they are. And I also like to thank Comic Basics for always supporting us. So I'm going to go ahead and play the outro music, and then we're going to be on our way.
Hey, kids, always do your homework.
Unlike Marmaduke, who doesn't do his homework.
I ate my homework.
You don't
never be late for a ThunderCast.
Or if you are, at least let me know.
I'm sorry about that, dude. I panicked the second I saw your tweet and got over here.
We're both guilty of jerking him around. Like, I could have just put. I don't like to use my cell phone when I'm driving, but that the surface roads are like a parking lot. I probably could have taken out my phone and just gone on Twitter and DM'd you to let you know.
We wouldn't want you like in snowy weather on the ThunderCast though. Like you got to concentrate on the street. Hey, officer, I'm live on the ThunderCast.
Live on the ThunderCast, we have Officer McNeil, who will hopefully let me off with a warning if I tell him who my favorite Thundercat character is. All right, so...
Hey, are you Mandora? Do you chase evil?
No! But thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you next time, and we'll see you around. This is Lio Convoy signing off. Say goodbye, guys.
Thanks for having me, and it was fun.
I think Mark already died on us. Good night, everybody.
Oh, no. Good night, everybody.
All right. I said goodbye.